Back then we didn't have, the beauty industry was not even recognized. It was under the hairdressing association. There was nothing, Anyone that decided to open a beauty salon, they could do that. Like in some parts of Asia. That's how it was in Australia. But in the early 80s, then they opened a TIFE, which I actually have two of the original certificate. I was one of the first to have a certificate from TIFE. I think it was 1980 and 91. So, but before that, you only had a diploma, which I had an Italian diploma and Australian diplomas. We didn't have strip wax, mind you. So it didn't exist.
So what did you use?
Just the hard wax.
Okay.
And you just did basically all the leg. You just put it on and take it off. Put it in a bucket and recycle it. And we had those. It was a very square container about that high. And you put the wax in there, and then you open the tap and you put in plastic containers. Do your waxing, and every so often you just go and refill it and warm it up. And that's how it used to be done. But now girls, they go, oh, recycling, oh, how disgusting. But
it was done. It was just probably done.
But even doing when I was learning, even eyebrow wax, they didn't do eyebrow wax.
No, it was all
didn't exist. Didn't exist eyebrow wax. No. And some beautician, they couldn't do it. They used to say, you can go blind if you have an eyebrow wax.
Oh my God, you go blind. You get the wax in your eyes. Oh.
It's the same thing when I started doing Brazilian waxing. They were saying, "Oh, that woman, she's wicked. She's taking the pubic hair because some stupid man it offends young girls." Emma Thomas, she wrote a full page about my Brazilian waxing on the Australian. The Australian is one of the most conservative newspaper in Australia that we have. She wrote a full page all about my waxing, like she's not normal.
No. Oh my God, that's so funny.
She's not normal. Why would you do that? And it's the same thing with anal bleaching. They say she's not normal. Why would you do that? They just laugh at me. But in a few years' time, it's going to be exactly like Brazilian waxing. I've been doing Brazilian waxing since 1978.
So you didn't even know they were doing that?
Well, back then it was not called Brazilian waxing. I used to call it full bikini wax.
Oh, full bikini wax.
Until about 1999, 98, 99, someone rang me and said, "Do you do Brazilian waxing?" And I was like, I don't know.
What's Brazilian?
What is a Brazilian waxing? You tell me, maybe I do, maybe I don't. And she said, "Oh, you're not taking all the pubic hair out?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've been doing that, since 1978. So of course I do that. Why do they call it Brazilian for?" And she said, "It's called Brazilian."
Right.
And I used to do, and I still do, also shapes and colors.
Colors. What do you use to do colors?
It's like an herbal extract color that I get from overseas. And you basically just shape pubic hair for fun. I traveled all around Australia teaching Brazilian waxing because there was nobody doing it at the time. So I actually traveled all around, and the one that I enjoyed the most was in Mackay, North Queensland. In Sydney it's very hard to get models. But in Mackay, we just had too many. It was so much fun.
Well, why do you think?
I don't know. I really don't know. They were more open-minded, and everyone sort of didn't care to take their clothes off. Doing Brazilian waxing when no one was doing it, you have to make your clients relaxed and comfortable, because otherwise it's uncomfortable for the therapist and it's uncomfortable for the person. Still today, people say to me, "How can you do men's Brazilian waxing?" It's very easy. You put your gloves on and you just treat the areas. I'm taking the hairs off. You're not like, I read on the forum, one of the forum, this woman said, "Oh, I don't like to do Brazilian wax because men has to have an erection." And I thought, how stupid is that? You don't. And another thing, you don't have eye contact with men. You just put your eyes down and just do your job. Talk, but you don't have the eye contact. But on the other hand, I try to make my clients extremely comfortable because you have to. And so I joke with them and I talk, and As you can see, I talk a lot. The latest trend that I've been doing is anal bleaching.
Yeah. Now, there are so many beauticians out there asking who does training.
I do.
Yeah, and like, they're looking for a trainer for that thing. And but that's been around for a while, hasn't it?
I've been doing it since 2008 in Australia.
Yeah.
But with the anal bleaching, unfortunately, like with the waxing, the Brazilian waxing, if you don't get trained properly, you can do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I had a client a few weeks ago, and she bought some stuff from the internet, and she used it, and honestly, her skin was so badly burned. It was it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for the beauticians and the client, because the beautician wants to get that market, and they just grab anything they can to get that market, but they don't do enough research, and they can get into big trouble.
Yeah. Especially here. I think in New Zealand we probably should be, a bit more monitored, but here in some states, opposed to others, you have
we have very strict.
rules.
Very. A lot of people say, why on earth would you do anal bleaching? Why do you do that for? Why people want it?
Yeah.
It's the same thing why people wanted Brazilian waxing. There was no reason. But now, just think, all the hair from the pubic is removed. So what is left is the skin underneath, which you couldn't see it before.
No. Yeah.
So if you have, hair on your pubic, there is no need to do the bleaching. But now that there is no hair, you can see the color.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are very concerned about it.
Yeah.
So it's just very simple.
One thing led to another.
Exactly.
Kind of thing. Yeah. But they have been doing it in America for a little bit, do you think?
The anal bleaching?
Yeah.
It started the same time I started, 2005.
Yep.
Great. If you can take everything off from the bottom down, hop on the bed and I'll be straight back. So I went back in the room and I was like, I think it'll be difficult to do the treatment if you don't take your pants off. And he looked at me and he said,